Hello, welcome to Shad Life. Well, hopefully you saw my other video. If not, this is the intro for the Japhy initial review of me taking it off-road. I actually just rode the Grand Canyon 5 and did the full review and released that video. And then right here on the same day, because I feel like I'm way behind because of this late spring that's starting, I'm gonna get out on the Japhy on the same trail and review that bike. So pretty excited to get out. I'm gonna have to dress pretty warm. The temperatures are gonna be right around between 40 and 45 degrees during this. But yeah, here we go. Time to ride the Japhy and get my first initial impression of it, riding it off-road for the first time. So I did do a video comparing this bike to the Canyon as far as like components and spec, and it described why this is $4,000 and the other bike is $800, $799, whatever you want to call it. Immediately, I haven't even gotten onto the trail yet, I can feel like the smoothness and the quality of this bike, and it's kind of cool because I've never really ridden bikes back to back like this. So I'm literally going to take this out on the same trails over here that I rode that Grand Canyon 5 and be able to make a direct comparison. There's a couple of things that are different because it's not quite apples to apples, but it's not apples to oranges either. It's more like apple to pear in this case. This is a trail bike, so it's got trail bike geometry. It's not an XC bike. It's got similar like short rear end, things like that, but it's got a much slacker head angle, taller front end, 120 millimeter travel fork, and it is designed to shred. But it also is designed for the long haul, which is kind of cool. It's got 29er wheels on it, and the Grand Canyon 5 has 27.5 wheels. So I'll get to do pretty much a direct comparison between the two bikes here today, which is kind of cool because I haven't been able to ever do that before. You ride bikes back to back, because if there's a bunch of time in between, you don't necessarily remember how the previous bike felt. So right away, just riding down this gravel road, I already felt a huge difference, mostly in the quality of everything, the smoothness of the bike, the smoothness of the fork, things like that. Talk about the fork, I have it set really stiff. You can see this is my sag, so I actually have it set really stiff. I might have to dumb it down a little bit, but it does have positive and negative air compression, and I have a negative like 10 psi more than the positive, which gives it that little bit of plushness off the top. So I don't know, I'll see how I like having it really stiff like this, but that's kind of another experimental thing. But yeah, I'm gonna get out on the trail and ride this bike. Let's do it. First things first, let's ride this little park here, this pump track. I feel much more stable, very stable on these kinds of things. She is shredding. Look at her go.
those trees. All right, a little bit of chunk. Now I think I have the sport set a hair too stiff. Too bad I don't have a shock pump with me. Here we go. Oh yeah. This is way more stable to ride on here. Oh, I just feel totally stable. Wow. Usually I'm a little wobbly. Not this time. Okay, the stability of this bike is definitely there. That's pretty amazing. I don't know if you've seen my videos where I talk about feeling sketchy on skinnies, but this bike, I did not feel sketchy, almost to a point where I was getting too relaxed and I have to be like more on my toes. Wow. Stability is the name of the game right here. Okay, I'm leaving space. We'll see how this does jumps. Here we go. I'll try to remember not to overshoot the first one again. Okay, perfect. Now this is the longer one. I gotta add a pedal in. Oh gosh. Watch this dude. Sweet. The Japhy. This thing is sweet. I'm gonna hit this jump line with it, with my 360 camera over there. I just went through the line just now and it felt super stable and sweet. I hope it looks as good as it felt when I went over these jumps. I am impressed. So keep in mind, I could jump these on any bike. What a lot of this has to do with is how easy is it to pop? Do I have to work really hard? How does the bike handle? How stable is it? All of that stuff. And that's what's important here. So this bike feels really stable. I really like the Hayduke mullet build for its agility. This bike definitely doesn't feel that agility of that bike, but it definitely can air and float, and it is fun. It's funny because the one run I did through there with POV footage felt like my best run. They did two others from the other angle that you just saw, and I mean they were okay, but neither one of them felt as good as that first run through. Kind of interesting, probably because I knew I was filming, and so it's probably thinking about it too much rather than just riding and flowing. Whew. All right, but either way, this bike is rad. So it's interesting, as long as I've been riding, I've never really thought all that much about high engagement hubs. I'm not sure what this engagement is on this Industry 9 hub, but it's definitely probably the highest engagement hub I've ever had. And you can notice it. Let's go over these logs. Oh my gosh, that fork is so smooth. Between the DVO diamond fork I have and this fork, whew, they're so smooth. Unreal. So back to this hub, it's interesting because I've never really cared all that much or noticed all that much, and when I start pedaling, it's a tiny gap before it engages. With this hub, I feel like as soon as I start pedaling, it's there, and I notice it actually kind of I don't know how to describe it. I'm used to having that little bit of wind up before it engages, and I don't have that anymore. Alright, let's ride this. See, this bike's so stable that it feels way easier to ride that than I did on that Canyon. Alright. These things are more like just annoying, but with the 29er, that's what everybody likes about them, is they just ride over that stuff much easier. And I'm gonna fall off this because I'm talking and not thinking about it, but I didn't fall off. All right, 29ers roll over things a lot easier. I still pull up the front wheel over stuff like that because I don't like to just ram into stuff. But the back wheel floats right over. There's some harsher ones here. Let's check these out. These really suck. See how they feel on a 29er. I mean, a little bit less sucky, but they still suck. The high engagement hub makes the shifting more crisp, believe it or not. It's very interesting. I have XT derailleur cassette shifter on some of my other bikes, and it doesn't feel as crisp as this, and I think it's just because of the hub and how quickly and smoothly it engages. Alright. Whew. Okay, finished this lap. Now time to go do the around the lake loop. All right, so I'm gonna do the around the lake loop on this thing. I'm liking it so far. Definitely different, but I like it. And let's go look at the map so I can show you what I'm talking about. So again, if you watched the Grand Canyon 5 video, I did all this first. Some of the technical stuff is all in here. Now I'm going to do that cross-country loop. It gets pretty windy in there, so I don't know how much filming and talking I'll do. I'll do a couple of segments. But when I get back to the parking lot, I'll conclude this video. Because of the stability of this bike, I can push it a little harder. Pretty fun. All right, let's hit this trunk with some speed. Oh, that was rad. My back tire caught the edge and kicked out to the side. Sweet. Whew. Now I'm tired. Okay, now we're on the lake loop. It gets a little windy out here. This bike, super smooth, super comfortable. The frame, super compliant. I have big tires on here. They're 2.6s, so that helps a little bit with the compliance. and the traction, but so does the steel frame quad butted tubing. Definitely can tell that this frame is designed for a purpose. Alright, this is where it's loose right there. Wow. With these tires I probably could rail it, but man, do I not want to slide out. So if you don't know what quad butted tubing is, you've probably heard of double butted, sometimes triple butted. All quad butted means is that the tubing has one more butt. Alright, that's my bad shad joke for the day. This bike feels fast. It feels like it wants to roll. But it isn't being very fast right now. And that has a lot more to do with me than it does the bike. Whew. I have the Meesville 56 next week and I need to get in shape. Oh, every one of these climbs, even though they're not long, they just burn out my legs. Crazy. So this is just a little kind of gradual climb. Whew. And for some reason it's a lot of work for me today. Alright, here's these turns. Really gotta lean the bike into corners like this to get it to turn. Yeah. There we go. Whew. Let's film that. So yeah, definitely some spring jitters. The wind. It's like haven't done like hard cornering in a long time, and going into a corner like that and leaning the bike and trusting that it's gonna hook up. And the only way you get better at that stuff is by going back and trying it multiple times, and you know, try different things and work on your skills. If you just go through one time and that's all you do, you don't go back, you're like, oh, I could do a little better, I could do a better line, more lean, all that, and keep practicing it, you'll never get better at something. And I definitely feel like I could do a better corner than what I just did. I think I need a little more bike lean, a little more counter lean with the body. You know, I can nitpick a little bit, even though I did a pretty good job, right? But that's how you get to be a good, highly skilled rider. So there we go. The Japhy. First time out on this bad boy, at least off-road. I'll go over behind this building and conclude out of the wind again. Before I go over this bike, I just want to say, like, I moved the rear wheel in, get it really close, tucked it in there. These are 29er wheels, and this is a small frame. Like, it's for my size. I'm only 5'7". It's small, but this bike actually feels kind of big. Believe it or not, it feels big to me. It's kind of silly that I feel that it's a big bike, but it's because of the 29er wheels, and it's definitely what I've noticed before when I've ridden 29ers. And, you know, it's okay. I like it, but I definitely like 27.5 because I come from riding BMX. I like the agility and so on and so forth. Yes, this bike can jump. Yes, it can roll over stuff, whatever. But when I go off jumps, I want to be able to kick it out. I want the bike to feel super agile underneath me when I'm doing stuff. All kinds of benefits to 27.5 wheels. And I can definitely notice that this has 29er wheels on it. Here we go, the Japhy. We've got the MRP Raven fork, XT brakes, Industry 9 wheels, these knobby neck tires. Again, the DHF and DHR from Maxxis is no longer, in my opinion, like the tire to have. There are so many other really good tires. These are really good. Nice fork, race face turbine bars, effect stem, XT brake levers, loving it. I believe this just has a standard Dior shifter, but it has an XT rear derailleur, and an XT, or this is a Dior cassette. I keep thinking it's an XT, but it's a Dior. XT has 2 aluminum outer cogs, so this is a Dior. Somebody corrected me on that. Oh, it says right there. It says Dior right there. But it does have aluminum carrier, which is cool. Again, dual piston hydraulic XT brakes, pretty sweet. XT crankset. This bike is sweet. SDG Tellus saddle, I believe it's, or saddle dropper post, I believe it's a SDG saddle that's Esker branded too. Is it, or is it a, I think it's a SDG saddle. Can't, yep, yeah it is. All right, so it's not a Volt. It's like all the bikes have Volts on them. It's a different saddle. I actually kind of like this saddle. It's pretty good. So there you have it, my first ride on the Japhy. This bike I'm keeping and I'll be riding it quite a bit this season, so you'll see a lot more of this bike. Sweet. Appreciate your support from my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.